Welcome to Bad Dog Agility, a podcast helping you reach all of your dog agility goals. Whether it's competing under the bright lights of the televised finals at Westminster or successfully navigating a homemade course in your own backyard, we'll bring you training tips, interviews, and news about the great sport of dog agility. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
The show starts with your hosts, Jennifer, Esteban, and Sarah.
I'm Jennifer.
I'm Esteban.
And I'm Sarah, and this is episode 334. Today's podcast is brought to you by Magic Mind, your companion for those long trial days. Whether you're an agility trainer or handler, keeping your mental energy and focus sharp is key. Magic Mind is crafted with a thoughtful blend of ingredients, including ceremonial-grade matcha for a smooth energy lift, plus ashwagandha and lion's mane mushrooms, selected for their history of use in supporting mental clarity and well-being. The goal? To support your focus and energy naturally, without the highs and lows of traditional caffeine sources. Join the community of handlers who have made Magic Mind a part of their daily routine. Ready to give it a try? Visit magicmind.com/baddog and get 20% off your first order with the discount code BADDOGMAGIC20. Embrace the day with clarity and energy and let Magic Mind be a part of your success story. Today's podcast is also brought to you by hititboard.com and the new Teeter Teach It, an easy-to-use tool that controls the amount of tip on your teeter so you can introduce motion to your dog in a gradual way. Go to hititboard.com for the new Teeter Teach It and other training tools and toys. Use discount code BDA10 to get 10% off your order. That's hititboard.com.
Hey, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about how top handlers get their next dog. And this is going to be mostly targeted at people who are new to their sport, probably on your first dog. And I think that a lot of people in agility have had that experience of doing agility with whatever dog that you happen to have on hand. And maybe that dog doesn't love agility quite as much as you do. You get bitten by the bug. You want a dog, and it's probably going to be your first, like, truly only for agility or primarily for agility kind of dog, right? And so I think all of us have been there at some point or another. I think most of us have been there, right? And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that because it's something that we've never really discussed before. And if you're new to the sport, it's something that you start to figure out over a long period of time and talking with a lot of people. So I thought we'd get you guys a little primer.
A little shortcut.
Start. That's right, a little shortcut. And so first, I want to point out that I am not a breeder.
I am not a breeder.
You're not a breeder. And we are not breeders for a very specific reason. It is hard work. And it's a lot of responsibility. And to be responsible for the puppies that go out and find them great homes and being responsible for any issues that are going to pop up with those dogs. However, we do have someone on the podcast who is a little bit of a breeder. And so we've got Jennifer Crank here, and she's going to share some of her experiences and expertise. But Jen, so someone comes up to you and they say, hey, you know, my current dog is so-and-so. I've been doing agility for a year or two. And you know what? I think I'm ready for a Sheltie. I want a Sheltie. And I heard you're breeding, or you have a litter coming up. And is there a possibility that I can get one of these fantastic Shelties? You're so awesome. Your dogs are so awesome. I love you. I love you. Let me get my checkbook. Jen, how does this work? Like, does this person have a shot? Should they be coming to you for a dog?
So in the case of somebody coming to me specifically for a Sheltie, I only breed Shelties. So compared to breeders that maybe dabble in different breeds or mixes, I only have Shelties. So the first question I'm going to ask that person, or I might already know it if I know the person, is this their first Sheltie, or have they had Shelties before? So that's going to be a huge question for me. Is somebody coming from the Sheltie world, from that breed? They're familiar with the breed, but as you said, maybe now they want one that's more agility bred or performance bred, you know, before they had a rescue, or one that they did not get specifically for the sport. Or are they new to Shelties? Because that's very different. And the questions that you would ask and the road that you would go down for that, I think, are quite a bit different. So this is going to be true of anybody out there thinking about a dog. Are you getting a dog, again, maybe more specific to sport, that's it within the same breed of what you have, or are you trying a different breed? Because I think that's something really important to take into account. And it's going to present some different questions in terms of your experience with the traits of that breed.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So what I'm hearing is there's really a lot of subjectivity here, both on the part of a breeder who might be looking to possibly place a puppy or a dog with you, and on the part of you, the listener, the person out there looking for a dog. So there's a lot of different questions that you kind of need to answer, right? And a breeder is going to want to ask you, because at the end of the day, Jen, like ideally, and then I guess maybe practically, if the answers are different for each of those, ideally versus practically, what kind of person or home are you looking for your puppies?
The main thing that I am looking for, and the question that I ask a lot of my students. So my students don't typically want Shelties from me, but they might ask me, hey, would you have some suggestions on breeds? The thing that I tell people, and I've said it on these podcasts before, I don't know where, but I know I've said it, and I'm very, upfront. I've talked about this a lot, is if something prevented you from being able to pursue agility while this dog was young, are you still okay having this breed? Are you okay having this dog? Is that an okay match for your household, for your heart, for your brain? Or is this a dog that you're getting, quote unquote, for agility? Right. So my Sheltie line does tend to be more performance bred, more agility bred. And therefore I get a lot of people that come to me I want an agility Sheltie. I want one really fast, and I want structure and athleticism. And I do have people who will come to me that don't have Shelties. And I always say, do you want this Sheltie because you want a dog that you can go put on a world team? Or do you want this Sheltie because you think a Sheltie is a good match for you? If on your way home, if driving home from picking up this puppy, or the puppy is 6 months or 8 months, something happens, that means you can't do agility, right? Are you still okay having this dog? And I think that's something that I've really taken to heart myself as well, as far as getting dogs that I know, even if they could, frankly, even they couldn't do agility, some medical issue or something, they couldn't agility, I'm still going to be okay with that. And if I couldn't do agility, I'm still picking a dog that makes sense for me, not just a quick means to an end of, oh, they're fast, oh, they're athletic, oh, they come from a good line of high results. I think it'd be a really bad match, but this will be my key to agility success. Make sure it's something. So as a breeder, my number one priority is a good home. Not performance, not results on the scoreboard or in the titles. It's a good home. It's somebody that is going to, care for them and love them regardless of their performance and the care that they take. I would rather see a dog not doing agility or not working on agility, but the person loves them and spoils them and gives them all the care, the chiropractic, the vets, all the stuff, than somebody who is super competitive and therefore lives in almost a state of disappointment. Well, the dog grew too big and now they're unhappy because their dog's too big, or the dog wasn't fast enough, or the dog this or that. And then as the breeder, I have to sit there and question, are they happy with this dog? Is this dog everything they ever wanted? And that's not what you want. So I always think about that in terms of breed as well. Is this a breed that you would want even if you couldn't do agility? Because I do see a lot of people who, especially on their second, third, or fourth dog, they're in agility and they want that dog, and they get, I'll be stereotypical, a border collie, because they're fast and they're smart and they know the verbals. And then it's like, great. Okay. That 1 hour a day when they're in class, it's fun. But the other 23 hours of the day, the dog's, not doing well. I think, and I'll kick it back over to you. That's a pretty common misconception with Malinois, right? Like, right. Oh, right. They're great on agility, but what about the rest of the time? So, is that something that you guys feel has had to be taken into account with your puppy?
Oh, I think that's absolutely true. First of all, we definitely did do the border collie thing, right? So at some point we got the border collie. I think a lot of people who know us and see us compete here in Texas and things know that we have run many different breeds over the years: Rottweilers, Australian Shepherds, Golden Retrievers, Border Collies, now the Mal. What is that? We got a Poodle. What is that? 5 or 6 different breeds right there. So, we like to spread the love around amongst our breeds. We certainly do have our favorites. But I think what you're getting at is, before you even can begin to answer the question, how do top handlers, get their next dog? The answer starts with, they know what they're looking for, right? They know what they want. They are familiar with the breed if they are switching breeds, or they are very familiar with the breed and they know I'm going to move from, say, conformation line golden, who are going to be, golden retriever is going to be a little bigger boned, maybe a little bit slower in terms of yard per second, maybe a little fearful of the teeter, and they're going to move to perhaps field lines, a little bit lighter bone, a little bit faster, a little bit more athletic. You're going to find that they really have a good vision of what that dog is going to look like in their household, in their pack. For colleges, we went through this with Isaac picking out colleges. It's called the broken leg test because Isaac was also an athlete, right? He went to college and he made his choice not based on athletics, because what everyone will tell you is, imagine that during your freshman year, the summer before you go to college, you break your leg and you're forced to retire from your sport forever. You can't do that sport. Now, do you still want to go to that college? Right? And the point there is that you don't pick a college based on the sport that you're playing. This is for the vast majority of students. It probably doesn't apply to every single student ever who went to college, but it's an excellent rule of thumb. And so I think that's what Jen is getting at here, to really understand that, again, this is just like any other dog. It's a commitment to being with this dog 10 to 15 and plus years, hopefully, and beyond, as a member of your family.
Yeah. And you kind of brought up our Malinois, and longtime listeners will know that Esteban's been talking about a Malinois for probably a decade. And there's a reason that we only just got one into our home. And it was because of, having, young kids and having the time and to give that dog what it needs. And we felt like now is the time that, our kids are grown, they can handle like a very large, powerful dog in the house. And that's one of the reasons we waited, but it kind of speaks to your point of, is this a good fit for your situation, for your home, for your other family members, and all of that?
Right. Okay. So now we've decided we're definitely going to get another dog. We're going to get them for agility. We have familiarity with the breed that we're looking at. And now we kind of want to know, well, how do the top folks think? And I'll start with us, or I guess I'll start with me very specifically. So the first thing that I do is not go out on the internet and look for litters of those breeds. So, right, I'm going to work backwards. I know what I'm looking for, and I'm looking for an agility dog. Okay, and if you're looking for an agility dog, you should probably be looking at a lot of different agility dogs, because it turns out that similar to humans, progeny, offspring, often will strikingly resemble their parents in mannerisms, intelligence, behavior, athletic ability. And too late now, Sarah's 5'6". I can't marry a taller person to get Isaac that height that he wanted, to help power him through Division I water polo. But it's not too late for you. And what I'm saying is, if you go out there and you see a dog that you really like, there are some questions that you can ask. One, is this dog a sire dam? Are they going to have a litter? Are they going to sire a litter? Right. Number two, and probably what I consider the sneaky better way of getting a dog. If this dog is so awesome and they have some litter mates that are so awesome, I don't want puppies from that awesome dog or the litter mates. The first, I'm going to try and see if there's a repeat breeding. So I'm going to go look at those parents. I'm going to go look at those lines, and I'm going to see where those lines are existing in which kennels, right? So I think some people get attached really to the different kennel names. Oh, this is a famous kennel. This kennel produced 25 mock dogs. This one produced this many conformation champions. I don't really care about that. I really care about the lines and where they're getting these dogs, right? And so I'm going to look very closely at the parents, aunts, uncles, all that kind of thing. But mostly I'm going to be hyper-focused on the parents. And so I'm going to work my way backwards. I'm going to look at the kind of athleticism, speed, turning ability that I want in the ring for whatever breed I'm looking at. And then I'm going to find out where that dog is from. And then I got to go to where the lines are. Jen, what do you think about this as a strategy?
Definitely the repeat breeding is like a huge, huge thing. If that's an option, I'm a big fan of, you already know what that parent did, right? You know what the mother and father produced. Now, as a person who has done the same breeding 4 times, I know that you get different stuff, right? But there's a known there. There's somewhat of a known. I mean, yes, every breeding is different, but I really am a big fan of the repeat breeding when possible. But yes, it's about finding lineage that you like, an aunt, a cousin, two sisters that have puppies. This is how a lot of people find me as a breeder. They saw a Sheltie. It was one they really liked. They went up and said, hey, where's that dog from? Okay. They send me an email and say, hey, I met so-and-so. I really like this dog. So it gives me feedback because now I have an idea of what that person is looking for. Oh, you liked that dog. Okay. You like that style. Or in the case of Shelties, we have such a factor with like color as well, color and sex as well. Or you like, that size as well. In Shelties, it's a very unique thing because it's not just the dog. There's so much to their looks and their appearance that become factors with size and color and sex and all that. A little bit different than some breeds where it's just they're all the same size and color. You just got to pick whether you like boys or girls.
Right.
But I definitely think there's certain breeds I'm like, you just got to decide which one you want.
Yeah.
But definitely looking into a line, I think is really, really important and really helpful, right? It kind of does some of the work for you instead of just waking up and saying, okay, I really want a Bernese Mountain Dog. Maybe I saw a Bernese Mountain Dog that I really liked and I can go to them and I can say like, okay, where's it? And sometimes they're from lines that are breeding for sport or performance or good work ethic or great structure. And other times it's a one-off like, oh, this dog's from field work and it's doing really great at agility or, whatever. But that's how you start. It's how you begin your research.
Right.
It's a good way to get started. Now, there's many other factors. And I think, and maybe this is on your list, but looking at breeder as well. And one that you think you can have a good relationship with. So I'm not just talking like the breeder in terms of like how famous they are, their ethics, but just like, is it someone that you can have a 15-year relationship with because that's how long your dog might live. So I think, finding the line, as you said, it's not always all from a like famous kennel, but looking into ancestry and what traits you like is it's the place to get started. That's always what I tell my students. If they're like, oh, I saw that, walker at a trial. I really like that. What do you think? Well, go talk to them, find out where that's from. See if it has siblings to agility. Start following them on Facebook, and kind of building your family tree.
Right. Totally agree. I've even run into the situation where I will trace someone, some lineage back to a particular dog or group of dogs and inquire about a specific breeding. And they say, hey, that breeding is all spoken for, or, it didn't take, it's not going to happen for 2 years. But I have this other breeding that is going to be absolutely great at agility. And I'm like, that's nice, but no, like that's not why I'm here. And that's not how I ended up here. But there have been times where other people, they do look at that, because they like the breeder, they have the relationship, they start exploring some of the other dogs they have. And if you can develop a relationship with the breeder where you can trust them, they know what they are talking about, right? And for our sport, I find it very helpful when they send dogs to agility. They don't necessarily have to be agility competitors themselves. They don't need to be high-level competitors if they are competitors. I've certainly seen like I want to say like border collie people. Some of them know their lines very well, and they're like, some of our dogs, they don't go to herding homes. They go to agility homes, and then they're doing very well. I think even here you have to be careful. In general, breeders have very high opinions of both themselves and their dogs and their breeding programs, of course. Right. And so especially for some people who are not in the sport, and I don't want to single out border collie people, but that's who I'm singling out right now. Those breeders will often tell you things like, oh, well, the dog can herd. They can do anything, walk on water, herd ducks, humans. They can drive your kids to school. It's not true. OK, I tried. They cannot drive at all. Jen.
I think this is why I've grown over the years of not being a huge fan of puppy deposits unless it's for a specific breeding. So my first exposure to putting a deposit down on a puppy was from the kennel, but not that particular breeding. So I wanted this particular cross. I knew that mother and that father, and they're like, okay, give me your deposit. Okay, well, what if the puppy doesn't get pregnant? Well, then we'll just transfer your deposit to the next litter. And I was like, but no, I don't want that next litter. I don't know that next litter is going to bring the traits that I want. And, there are a lot of breeders that, all our dogs are great at agility. I'm like, but are they? Like,
Yeah.
no. Like, I mean, we just did those podcasts on ETO recently. And so it's like, have they seen a jump? Have they ever seen a jump? Have you asked them to do the stairs? Can they get in the car? So my first exposure to puppy deposits was a very negative one, in which you didn't get the deposit back and they just transferred it to the next one. Now, I know that's not how everybody works, and I don't want to make puppy deposits seem like a bad thing, but exactly to your point, it's a particular cross, it's a particular lineage, it's dogs that you've vetted, you've researched, you've looked at, not just any puppy from that kennel name. I'm not buying the kennel name, I'm buying that particular cross. And yes, I want the breeder to have knowledge and they do know their dogs, but I 100% agree with sometimes people being very confident in what they can produce and not necessarily the facts to back it up. Often what I refer to as kennel blind. You can't see in your own kennel because your kennel, my kennel has great XYZ, and they can't take a look at it from the outside coming in.
Right. Sarah will tell you that I have lost a couple of thousands of dollars in puppy deposits over the years on various litters that just didn't seem to pan out, or apparently, I was the next one to get a puppy, but there just wasn't quite enough puppies for that to happen. And I think one thing that I will say is that I do note that, and this is something I think newbies need to be aware of, like the way that puppies are passed out from litters and match with their owners vary widely from breeder to breeder, right? And yes, there are absolutely breeders who are just going to like give the best puppies to their friends or to themselves, or they may owe to whoever owns the sire one of the puppy picks, like first female, first male, things like that.
Or the most successful handler.
Yeah. So, I think there is an element of gamesmanship and luck to finding the right breeding and having a good relationship with that breeder. So those are some things you might want to do. I was never really interested in doing those things. I just wanted to like get the dog that I wanted and then kind of be left alone. But that's more my approach. And I was much less willing to play those kinds of games. But I just want people to be aware that kind of stuff is out there a little bit. Yeah.
I will also say as a breeder, one last little thing, establish a relationship. Don't wait till the last minute. Don't be like, hey, I'm looking for a puppy and I'd like to pick it up in 48 hours. You got anything available?
That's not going to happen.
Establish a relationship. Hey, I've been following your dogs. I want to reach out. I'm not looking now, but here's a little bit about me. Hopefully we can keep in touch, build the relationship. I know for me, that's going to go a long way. I'm getting to know somebody, then being able to know your dogs, knowing what they want and planning in advance. Litters don't happen overnight. They take a lot of time and testing and raising and planning. And the sooner you start looking at things, I think the better off you are on establishing those relationships.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That was going to be my advice too, from the other side, not from the breeding side, but start early. Well before you are ready to get it. Start thinking about what breed you want. Use the advice that we gave earlier to find the lines that you want. Reach out to breeders and let them know that you're not looking right now. Let them know what your time frame is. But what you're going to do is they're going to get to know what it is that you want, and they're going to keep you in mind. So that when they do have, especially if you are relatively new and you don't know everything about everything, you don't know all of these lines. Like Jen has so much knowledge about Sheltie lines, right? She's going to be like, I want that breeding, right? But if you don't have that kind of knowledge about your breed, like all the way down to the very specific lines that you want or the lines that you want to avoid or whatever, because you're more new to the sport, but you know what you're looking for in terms of performance, livability, the trade-off between those two things, where on the spectrum you want your dog, then you can get to know the breeder, let them get to know what your goals are, what you're looking for, and they're going to keep that in mind as they put breedings together. And they may, and then the hope is they reach out to you and they say, hey, I've got 2 litters coming up. I don't think this one is right for you, but I think this one is right for you if you would like to put a deposit, or here's the time frame for this litter. Or even sometimes litters will happen where there's a huge mismatch between what everybody wants and what is born, right? Mm-hmm. So I think this happens a lot around sex. So, a litter with 6 males and 3 females, and the majority of people on the list wanted a female. And now you have
for the bigger dogs,
especially for bigger dogs,
like
right?
Mal's.
Like Mal's. And so you end up with this fantastic breeding, but just luck of the draw, there happen to be these additional male dogs sitting around. And then if you've been talking to the breeder, they may reach out to you. And then that may be really how you get exactly what you're looking for, is by being flexible in your timing.
Yeah, super interesting. I'm going to close with the final thought here. I'm going to ask each of us what you're looking for, like the number one quality in an agility dog. And I do want to warn the new folks that when you're out there, you can do everything right. I kind of feel like we did that with the research, the homework with the golden and the poodle. And then I've got, 2 dogs with like issues that are preventing them from, competing in the ring right now. They're already 4 years old. So, you can do everything right, but sometimes things can go a little bit wrong, right? And so that's where it's important to have a dog that you can live with, right? And so these 2 dogs are really great for our family, for our daughter, and in our house. But I will say the number one thing that I look for is jumping and jumping ability. So I will not compromise on this. If there is a history of early jumping in the lines, I tend to shy away from those lines. I want to see the parents jumping. It's not good enough for me. If I were looking for a border collie and they're like, oh, well, we got a herding dad and the mom does a little bit of agility, right? I want to see these dogs jumping. Like, I'm not going to take that chance. There was a time when, herding people could say all kinds of nonsense about how amazing herding dogs were. And I'm like, no, I need to see that dog jumping. Okay. Because that is something that to date, we have not had as trainers, all trainers, like all trainers in the world. It's really a hard behavior to fix or change or really teach in a dog. Okay. Sarah, you're next.
All right. I will say that for me, and I know it's just supposed to be one thing, but I'm going to say that my one thing is a combo. And that is that I'm looking, my one thing is sweet spot. I'm looking for the sweet spot. I know
cheating.
It is a little bit cheating, but what I'm saying is I know that you're not typically going to get a dog that is perfect at everything. Perfect at everything in life, right?
Okay.
And I'm looking for the sweet spot between speed and trainability and livability. So what I'm saying is I would rather have a dog
like a more moderate dog.
Like a more moderate dog.
I'll give you that.
Right.
I feel like that's a fair quality.
Right. Like I am willing to not always win as long as the dog that I go home with is livable. Now, I don't want to always lose. I want to sometimes win. I don't want slow and livable. I want fast and livable, but I don't have to have the absolute dog that nobody can beat.
Gotcha. And Jen.
All right, you're going to say I'm cheating too, Esteban, because my one thing is don't underestimate what your heart tells you, even if your head is telling you something different.
Ooh,
I know that's kind of cheating, but I think a lot of people go with, what their head says. Their head says, take the puppy with the best structure. The puppy with the best structure, always take the puppy with the best structure. But what if that's not the puppy that you have the connection with? What if there's just something about one of the dogs, or your instructor said, this breeding is going to be the best breeding. You got to get a puppy from this breeding. And you go to look at the puppies, you see photos, you see videos, and you're not feeling it. If the heart is not wanting it, don't take it just because your head said you did, and vice versa. If your head is saying this, I will give up a little bit on structure if the heart is really pulling at something. So I'm not saying don't listen to your head. I'm just saying don't forget what the heart is telling you and find that compromise. As a person who has purchase dogs 100% with their head and purchase dogs 100% with their heart, there is the compromise. And I think it goes back to, I've never heard it before, but the broken leg test. I love it. I love that. That if you buy a dog 100% with your brain because somebody said it's the best dog, but then it doesn't turn out to be the agility dog or something happens and your heart's not in it and you just don't get the warm and fuzzies, that's going to be straining on the relationship. So listen to your heart.
All right. Well, that is some great advice for our listeners out there. And I hope that you find this helpful.
That's it for this week's podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Magic Mind and hititboard.com. Happy training.
Thank you for for listening to Bad Dog Agility. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information, updates, and links to all our socials, just check out our website, www.baddogagility.com. If you haven't already signed up for our email subscription, we would love to have you join the BDA community. Until next time, take care.
What did 0 say to 8? Nice belt.